The screen door slammed against the frame like a gunshot in the dead of night, and I froze on my porch steps, coffee mug halfway to my lips. From next door, a guttural sob ripped through the humid August air. Raw. Animal. The kind that claws its way out of a man who's been holding it in for decades. I dropped the mug, shards scattering across the gravel, and bolted toward the sound, my heart pounding like I just witnessed a murder. "Anthony," I called, voice cracking as I shoved through the overgrown hedge that separated our yards. The back door to his kitchen hung open, spilling yellow light onto the dew-slick grass. And there he was, my neighbor of 5 years, the stoic widower. No. Wait. His wife Ellen was supposed to be in Florida for the week, crumpled on the linoleum floor amid shattered plates and a spilled bottle of bourbon. His broad shoulders heaved, face buried in his hands. The man who'd fixed my truck engine without a word now unraveling like a frayed rope. He looked up, eyes bloodshot and wild, salt and pepper beard streaked with tears. "Mark. God. Just go. Please." But his voice wasn't a command. It was a plea, and in that moment, as the scent of whiskey and regret hung thick in the air, I knew I couldn't walk away. Not from him. Not like this. I knelt beside him, the cool tile biting through my jeans, and placed a tentative hand on his back. Anthony flinched at first, his body rigid under the faded gray Henley that smelled faintly of motor oil and aftershave, the same scent that had lingered in my garage last summer when he'd spent hours under the hood of my old Ford, cursing the carburetor like it was an old enemy. "Hey, man," I said softly, my voice steadier than I felt. "What the hell happened? Talk to me." He dragged a sleeve across his face, smearing the mess, and let out a bitter laugh that twisted into another sob. "Ellen. She left. For good this time. Found the letters. The ones I never sent." His words tumbled out in fragments, each one heavier than the last. "Letters? To who?" But I didn't press. Instead, I helped him to his feet, his weight leaning into me like a felled oak. All 6'2" of him solid but suddenly fragile. We shuffled to the living room, past the mantel lined with faded photos. Anthony and Ellen at their wedding in '92. Him in a crisp navy uniform, a younger version of them on a beach in Myrtle, arms wrapped around each other, and tucked in the back, barely visible under a layer of dust, a black and white snapshot of 2 boys in swim trunks, grinning under a summer sun, Anthony and his brother. Maybe, but something about the way their hands brushed made my stomach twist with unspoken recognition. I eased him onto the sagging plaid couch, the one I'd crashed on after too many beers during last year's 4th of July barbecue, when the fireflies danced like drunk confetti and we talked baseball until dawn. Grabbing a blanket from the armchair, knitted by Ellen, no doubt, I draped it over his knees. "Stay put. I'll clean up the glass. Make some coffee. Black, right? No sugar." He nodded numbly, staring at the floor like it held the answers to a lifetime of questions. As I swept up the shards in the kitchen, the pieces glinting like accusations under the fluorescent light, my mind raced. Anthony Hargrove, 58, the guy who'd mowed my lawn when my back went out last winter, who waved from his driveway every morning on his way to the auto shop. The straight arrow veteran who'd buried his folks in the '90s and built a life here in Elmwood, this sleepy upstate New York town where the Hudson River wound lazy through maple groves and everyone knew your sins before you confessed them. But those letters, what ghosts were they dredging up? By the time I handed him the steaming mug, his color had returned a fraction, though his eyes still swam with that haunted depth. Thanks, kid, he muttered, the nickname he'd given me since I moved in 3 years ago, fresh out of community college with a graphic design gig that barely paid the rent. At 25, I was the kid to most folks around here, single, sketching logos in my basement apartment, dodging questions about why I hadn't settled down yet. Didn't mean to drag you into this mess. You're not dragging. I'm here. I sat across from him on the ottoman, close enough to feel the heat radiating off his skin, mixed with the bourbon's sharp tang. Up close like this, in the lamplight, I noticed the fine lines fanning from his eyes, the way his hair curled just a bit at the nape of his neck. Handsome in that rugged, lived-in way, like a classic car with a few dents but an engine that purred. So, Ellen. What letters? He took a long sip, wincing as the heat hit his throat, then set the mug down with deliberate care. Old ones. To someone from back in the day. Before her. Before everything. His gaze flicked to mine, then away, toward the window where fireflies blinked in the gathering dusk. I was 22, stationed in San Diego. Met this guy, Tommy. We got close. Too close. Wrote him after I shipped out. Stupid kid stuff. Poured my guts out. Never mailed em. Kept them in a box in the attic. Thought they were buried. The air thickened, charged like the storm brewing over the Catskills. Tommy. A name that hung between us, simple yet seismic. I swallowed hard, my pulse thudding in my ears. I'd always sensed something in Anthony, a quiet intensity, the way his eyes lingered a beat too long when we joked around, or how he'd brush my shoulder-passing tools in the garage. But this? She found them while packing for Florida. Thought I was cheating. Or worse. He rubbed his temples, voice dropping to a whisper. Maybe she was right. The confession landed like a punch, stealing my breath. Anthony, grappling with it all these years? In Elmwood, where the church steeple pierced the sky and rainbows were just weather, not flags. I reached out, squeezed his knee, meant to be reassuring, but my fingers lingered, tracing the denim seam. He didn't pull away. Instead, his hand covered mine, rough palm calloused from years of wrenches and regrets, and for a heartbeat, the world narrowed to that point of contact. That night, we talked until the bourbon bottle was empty and the crickets sang their symphony. He told me about Tommy. Stolen kisses in the barracks, the terror of lights-out patrols, the ache of discharge papers that severed more than duty. How he'd come home, met Ellen at a diner in Syracuse, sweet, steady Ellen, who deserved the man he pretended to be. Buried the box, built the house, raised no kids but loved the quiet life. And me, I shared fragments of my own. The ex-boyfriend in Albany who bailed when I wouldn't tone it down. The sketches in my drawer of men who looked suspiciously like the guy next door. Dawn crept in, painting the room gold, and when he finally dozed off, head lolling against the couch, I covered him properly and slipped out, my skin buzzing like I'd touched a live wire. The next morning, my phone buzzed with a text. Coffee? My treat. A simple words, but they ignited something reckless in me. Ellen was gone for 5 more days. What harm in helping a friend through the wreckage? Little did I know, those days would shatter us both. As I stepped onto my porch, the sun glinting off the river in the distance, I felt the pull like gravity shifting, drawing me back across the hedge. Anthony was waiting, unshaven but upright, a tentative smile cracking his face as he waved me over. "Figured you could use a break from your cave," he said, nodding at my apartment. We drove into town in his battered Chevy, windows down, classic rock crooning low on the radio. Elmwood's main drag was alive with Saturday bustle. Farmers' market stalls bursting with heirloom tomatoes and artisanal cheeses, kids on bikes dodging tourists snapping pics of the Revolutionary War monument. We grabbed coffees at the beanery, black for him, latte for me, and wandered the stalls, the normalcy a balm after last night's storm. But under it all simmered the unspoken. Our shoulders brushed as we sampled honey from a local apiary, his laugh rumbling deep when I joked about the bees being queer for pollinating everything. "You got a mouth on you, kid," he said, but his eyes held mine, warm and searching. By the time we loaded the truck with fresh bread and a six-pack of local IPA, the air between us crackled, charged with possibility. Back home, we cracked open the beers on his back deck, overlooking the yard where fireflies would dance again tonight. The conversation flowed easy at first, Red Sox versus Yankees, the best route to avoid Albany traffic, but then it veered, inevitable as the rivers bend. "Ever think about it?" he asked, staring into his bottle. "What if I'd sent those letters? What if I'd stayed true?" I set my IPA down, heart hammering. To Tommy? Or? The or hung there, bold and terrifying. He met my gaze, unflinching. To myself. To whatever this is. His hand found mine again, deliberate this time, thumb tracing circles on my knuckles. The touch sent heat coiling low in my gut, and before I could overthink it, I leaned in, brushing my lips against his, tentative, testing. He froze for a split second, then surged forward, kissing me with the hunger of 30 years denied. Rough beard against smooth skin, calloused fingers tangling in my hair, the taste of hops and salt. It was messy, urgent, a dam breaking in the afternoon sun. We broke apart gasping, foreheads pressed together. "Mark. Jesus. What are we doing?" But his arms didn't let go, pulling me closer instead, and I whispered, "Helping each other, Anthony." That's all. That afternoon blurred into a haze of rediscovery. We moved inside, shedding clothes like old skins, his shirt revealing a chest dusted with silver hair, scars from a long-ago appendectomy. Mine, lean from weekend hikes, tattoos snaking up my ribs that he traced with reverent fingers. In his bedroom, with its queen bed and faded quilt, we explored slowly at first, then with a fervor that shook the frame. His hands were everywhere, strong, sure, mapping me like a territory he'd always known but never claimed. I lost myself in him, in the gravelly moans he stifled against my neck, the way he whispered my name like a prayer. As the sun dipped low, we lay tangled in sheets, sweat cooling on our skin. "This changes everything," he murmured, voice thick with awe and fear. I nodded, tracing the lines of his face. "Yeah. But maybe that's okay. For those stolen days, it was." Ellen's absence became our sanctuary. We cooked steaks on the grill, laughing over burned edges, walked the river trail at twilight, hands brushing until they clasped, made love in the living room with the TV flickering some forgotten Western, John Wayne's bravado an ironic backdrop. Anthony opened up more stories of his Navy days, the quiet terror of don't ask, don't tell, the marriage to Ellen that started as comfort and curdled into habit. I shared my fears, the isolation of being out in a town that whispered, the dream of designing book covers for stories like ours, hidden in plain sight. But cracks formed, subtle at first. A call from Ellen on day 3. Everything okay? Hon, miss you. That left him withdrawn, staring at the phone like it was a grenade. She wants to talk when she gets back, he told me that night, as we lay in the dark. About counseling. Starting over. His fingers tightened on mine. What do I say? Mark, how do I? You tell her the truth, I said, though the words tasted like ash. Or you don't. But you can't keep burying it. He rolled away, back to me, and the silence stretched, heavy as the quilt. I pressed against him, spooning close, but sleep came fitful, haunted by the ticking clock. On day 4, the storm hit literal and not. Thunder rattled the windows as we huddled in the kitchen, rain lashing the panes like judgment. Anthony pulled me onto the counter, kissing me fierce, hands urgent. I don't want this to end, he growled against my throat, and I believed him, lost in the rhythm of our bodies sinking like gears long out of alignment. But as lightning cracked the sky, his phone buzzed again. Ellen, early return. Flight delayed, but tomorrow. Panic flickered in his eyes. We have time, I said, but even I heard the lie. That night, we clung to each other, lovemaking turning tender, almost mournful. You're good for me, kid, he whispered, as I drifted off in his arms. Too damn good. Morning brought clarity's cruel light. Ellen's car would crunch gravel by noon. Anthony was up early, brewing coffee with mechanical precision, his face a mask. You should go, he said when I wandered in, tousled and hopeful. Before the words died, but the implication landed. I nodded, throat tight, gathering my things in silence. At the door, he grabbed my wrist, pulling me into one last kiss, deep, desperate, tasting of goodbye. This wasn't. It was real. For me too, I forced a smile, stepping into the drizzle. Call me. When you're ready. He didn't. Days turned to weeks. Ellen's station wagon back in the drive, their lights on late into the night. I caught glimpses, her hand on his arm at the mailbox, his nod to me across the yard. Polite, distant. The ache settled in my chest, a bruise that throbbed with every engine roar from his shop. Then, the betrayal. A mutual friend at the beanery, nursing a latte, dropped it casual over scones. Heard Anthony and Ellen are separating. Quietly. Something about old secrets. My stomach dropped. Counseling? Lies? All of it. He'd chosen the easy path. Swept me under the rug like those letters. Rage boiled hot that night. Bourbon burning my throat in my empty apartment. I texted him, fingers flying, heard the news. Guess real only lasts till the wife comes home. No reply. By dawn, resolve hardened. I confront him, end this limbo, force the truth. The confrontation brewed like the nor'easter rolling in from the Atlantic. Gray skies swallowing Elmwood whole. I waited until evening, when the shop's neon Hargrove Auto sign flickered to life, casting bloody red across the wet pavement. Anthony was under a raised Impala, legs sticking out like a mechanic's surrender flag, radio blasting Springsteen, Thunder Road. Ironic as hell. I killed my engine, slammed the door, and marched in, boots splashing puddles that mirrored my fury. Anthony! My voice echoed off oil drums and torque wrenches, sharper than intended. He slid out on the creeper, wiping grease from his hands on a rag, face unreadable in the harsh fluorescence. Close. He looked haggard, deeper lines. I shadowed like he'd aged a decade in weeks. Mark. Didn't expect. He trailed off, tossing the rag aside, gestures awkward, like we were strangers bartering parts. Save it. I crossed my arms, rain dripping from my hair onto the concrete. Heard about the separation. Ellen's packing boxes. Huh? All that talk of counseling, a smokescreen? You gonna pretend those nights didn't happen? He winced, glancing toward the office window where his employee, old Pete, pretended not to eavesdrop. Not here. Come back to the house. Please. The please cracked my armor, but I followed, tailing his truck through sheets of rain that turned the roads to rivers. Ellen's car was gone. Furniture truck earlier, Whisper said, and the house felt hollow, echoes bouncing off bare walls where family photos once hung. He led me to the kitchen, flicked on the light, and poured 2 fingers of bourbon without asking. Yeah. It's over. For real this time. I snatched the glass, slamming it back, the burn fueling my fire. And us? Was that real? Or just a midlife crisis pit stop? His shoulders sagged, and he sank into a chair, gesturing for me to do the same. I didn't. It was real. God, Mark, more real than anything in years. But Ellen, she deserved better than my half-truths. Found the letters, yeah, but also some emails. To a chat line. Last year. Testing waters, I guess. She confronted me, and it all spilled out, the Navy, the doubts. You told her about me? The words choked out, a mix of horror and hope. Not by name. But enough. Said I needed space to figure out who I am. Not the husband she married. He rubbed his beard, voice raw. Separation's temporary. Trial run. She's staying with her sister in Poughkeepsie. But the divorce papers. They're coming. The fight drained from me, leaving exhaustion in its wake. I slid into the chair opposite, our knees brushing under the table, a spark in the dimness. Why didn't you call? Text back? I thought I ghosted you? Used you? He reached across, hesitating before covering my hand. Feared I'd drag you down. You're young. Got your whole life, design gigs lining up. That portfolio you showed me. Me? I'm a mess. 58. Coming out in a town that still clutch pearls at pride stickers. I turned my hand palm up, lacing our fingers. I'm not a kid, Anthony. And you're not a mess. You're. You. Brave as hell for even trying. The admission hung, vulnerable, and he pulled me up, into his arms, burying his face in my neck. Rain pattered the roof like applause, and we stood there, swaying, until the hug turned heated, lips meeting in a kiss that tasted of bourbon and second chances. We didn't make it far, counter, then floor, clothes discarded in frantic pulls. This time, it was different, slower, eyes locked, bodies moving with the deliberation of men who knew time was a thief. He whispered praises. Beautiful, so damn beautiful. As I arched under him, and when release came, it was shattering, tears mingling with sweat on his cheeks. After Wrapped in a throw blanket on the living room floor, we talked truths. His fears, the shop's mortgage, whispers from lifelong friends, the ache of losing Ellen not to hate but to honesty. Mine, the loneliness of small-town gay life, dreams of Manhattan but roots in Elmwood soil. "Stay," he said finally, voice fierce. "Help me build this. Us." I did. The next weeks were a whirlwind of reinvention. I helped pack Ellen's things. Awkward calls where she thanked me coolly. Sensing the shift, we painted walls a bold sage green, erasing ghosts. Nights blurred into mornings of coffee and sketches, me designing a new logo for the shop while he tinkered nearby, stealing kisses over blueprints. But Elmwood wasn't forgiving. Whispers slithered through the market. "Hargrove's gone funny. That renter boy's trouble. Pete quit," citing family reasons. His glare saying enough. Anthony's hands shook signing the separation agreement. And one night, after a barfly's slur at O'Malley's, he snapped, fist through drywall, blood dripping as I bandaged it in silence. "It's too much," he admitted later, ice pack to his knuckles. "What if I can't do this? For you?" I cupped his face. "Steady. Then we figure it together." Like always, fall deepened, leaves carpeting the yard in crimson and gold. We hosted a small dinner, me, Anthony, a couple from the Pride meetup in Kingston who'd become tentative friends. Laughter echoed, real and rare, but as plates cleared, Anthony's phone rang. His brother, Jack, from Ohio, heard the news. Ma's rolling in her grave. "You need Jesus, not that." The line went dead, and Anthony stared at the wall, gutted. I held him through the sobs, but doubt seeded his mind. Was I stealing his peace, or giving it? Thanksgiving loomed. A test. Ellen invited us both neutral ground, her sister's farm upstate. "Closure," she called it. Anthony agonized, but I pushed, "Go. Show her you're okay." "Show you." The drive was tense. Hudson Valley mist cloaking the hills. Ellen greeted us at the door, elegant in sweater and pearls, her hug for Anthony lingering, eyes flicking to me with quiet assessment. Dinner was civil, turkey, stories of grandkids she doted on, but undercurrents swirled. After pie, she pulled me aside in the kitchen. "He loves you, you know. Terrifies him. But he's happier. Grayer, but happy." Her words unlocked something, tears pricking as I nodded. "Thank you for letting him." She smiled sadly. We let go to hold on to ourselves. Back home, snow dusting the eaves, Anthony proposed, not rings, but a future. "Move in. Official. Let's make this home." I said yes, sealing it with a kiss under the mistletoe we'd hung ironically. But fate, that American dreamer, had twists left. Christmas Eve, a knock shattered the idyll. Jack on the stoop, duffel in hand, face thunderous. "Talk some sense into him, Mark, before he ruins everything." The confrontation exploded, yells echoing through the house, Jack hurling Bible verses like grenades, Anthony roaring back about buried truths and chosen family. I mediated, voice breaking, "He's not ruined. He's free." Jack stormed out into the blizzard, tires spinning gravel. Anthony collapsed against me, whispering, "Sorry. God, I'm sorry," but apologies couldn't mend the fracture. Days later, A letter arrived, certified, from a lawyer in Cleveland. Jack contesting their late father's will, claiming Anthony's lifestyle invalidated his share. The shop, the house threatened. Panic set in. Anthony withdrew. Nights at the shop till dawn. Bourbon his companion. "Can't lose it all," he'd mutter, eyes distant. I tried bridging, dinners ignored, touches rebuffed. "Give me space, kid. Please." Space became a chasm. January's ice mirrored my isolation, sketches piling untouched. One night, I found him in the attic, box of letters open, Tommy's ghost between us. "Was it ever me?" I demanded, voice small. He looked up, wrecked. "Always you. But this, it's bigger than us." The betrayal stung fresh. Not infidelity, but abandonment. He chose legacy over love, the shop over soul. I packed that week, quiet as snow, leaving a note. "You helped me see myself. Now help you. Call when it's your turn." Driving south on I-87, Manhattan's skyline beckoning. Tears blurred the signs. Unforgettable? Yeah. Unbreakable? No. Manhattan swallowed me whole, a concrete beast with neon veins pulsing through the night. I crashed at a buddy's walk-up in Chelsea, subletting a shoebox studio by week's end. Views of fire escapes and the distant Empire State. Rent bleeding my savings dry. Days blurred into freelance gigs. Logo tweaks for indie publishers. Late nights hunched over my MacBook. Coffee intravenous. Nights, bars in the village, where rainbow flags flapped like promises. Hookups fleeting as cabs in traffic. But none stuck. None had salt and pepper stubble or a laugh like rolling thunder. Anthony's texts started sporadic. Missed the coffee runs. Shop's quiet. Then silence. Broken by a voicemail on Valentine's, voice gravelly. Hesitant. Saw hearts everywhere today. Thought of you. Hope the city's treating you right. Kid. I deleted it. Thumb hovering over block. But replayed it twice. Heart twisting. Spring thawed Elmwood in my rearview, but not the frost between us. A care package arrived in April, maple syrup from the market. A vintage Springsteen vinyl. Note tucked inside, heard this on the radio. Reminded me of drives. I blasted it that night. Born to run echoing off brick walls. And cracked. Dialing his number at 2 a.m. Tears hot. "Mark," his voice. Sleepy then alert. Wrapped around me like an old quilt. "Can't do this," I sobbed. The dam breaking. The silence. It hurts worse than leaving. A pause. Then exhale. "Come home. Please." I fixed it. Fixed. Turns out, he'd fought. Lawyer letters. A mediated sit-down with Jack in a Syracuse conference room. Bourbon-fueled honesty spilling over coffee. Told him everything. The Navy, Tommy, you. Said if he wanted the inheritance, take it. But the brother's love? Earn it. Jack backed down. Grumbling truce. Papers signed. The shop stood firm. But deeper therapy. Twice weekly in Kingston. Unpacking decades. Turns out, I'm not broken. Just bent. His laugh. Faint over the line. Miss your sketches on the fridge. I visited that May. Tentative as a fawn. His truck in the drive. Sage walls brighter. A new photo on the mantle. Us at the river. Arms slung casual. Fireflies blurring the lens. He pulled me inside. Kiss hungry. hands mapping scars of absence. "Don't leave again," he murmured against my skin. "I won't. If you fight for this." We did. Summers of compromise. Weekends in the city. Me dragging him to MoMA. Him teaching me to rebuild a transmission in the driveway. Fall brought pride. Elmwood's first float. Us walking hand in hand down Main. Stares turning to nods as Pete's replacement waved a flag. Ellen visited once. Awkward brunch at the Beanery. Her blessing quiet. He glows now. Thanks to you. But love's not linear. It's a back road with potholes. Anthony's doubts resurfaced in November. Nights staring at the ceiling, whispering, "What if it's not enough for you?" Young and vital, I'd straddle him, kiss fire into his veins. "It's everything." The high point crested at Christmas. Our first official. I flew in from a design contract in Brooklyn, snow blanketing Elmwood like forgiveness. He'd strung lights on the porch blue and white, subtle nod to his flag, and inside, tree aglow with ornaments. A navy anchor, my first sketch of us framed as a star. Dinner was rib roast, his ma's recipe, wine flowing as we swapped gifts, leather jacket for him, monogrammed wrench set. For me, a custom sketchpad bound in Hudson leather, pages filled with his handwriting, quotes from E. Cummings, "I carry your heart with me." We made love by the fire, slow and sacred, bodies sinking like they'd never parted. "Love you, Mark," he said after, words I'd waited months for, sealing them with a kiss. But storms brew quiet. New Year's. Jack returned, clean-shaven, contrite, bearing Ohio pie and an apology. Saw the error. Family's family. Hugs exchanged. Tentative. But Anthony's smile reached his eyes. Progress. Then, February's gut punch. Diagnosis. Prostate. Early stage. Caught at his annual. Treatable, the doc said in Kingston's sterile office. Pamphlets clutched like lifelines. Anthony joked on the drive home. Guess I'm finally getting that full-body scan. But fear shadowed his eyes. I moved back full-time, subletting the studio, juggling remote work from the kitchen table. Chemo started gentle, pills, fatigue but escalated, infusions twice weekly, his frame thinning, beard grayer. Nights, I'd hold him through nausea, whispering stories of our river walks, sketching caricatures of us as superheroes, Captain Wrench and Sketch Boy, battling villains named Doubt. Elmwood rallied, surprising. Potlucks from neighbors who'd whispered, Pete dropping by with a rebuilt carburetor, for when you're back at it. Ellen sent cards, her script elegant, strength to you both. Even Jack drove up monthly, awkward chess games by the fire. Yet conflict festered inward. Anthony withdrew, pushing me away with barbs. Go live, kid. City's calling. One night, post-infusion pallor, he confessed, afraid you'll wake up, see an old sick man, and bolt. I knelt by the bed, tears falling. Bolt? You're my road, Anthony. Every mile, but doubt lingered, a thief in the dark. Spring bloomed defiant, tulips pushing through mulch like hope. Scans showed shrinkage, remission whispered. We celebrated quiet, picnic by the Hudson, fingers laced, watching barges glide. We're beating this, I said, and he nodded, kissing my temple. But betrayal's shadow loomed, not his, but fate's cruel jest. June, a relapse scare, elevated PSA, urgent biopsy. Waiting room hell. Me pacing. Him stoic. Hands squeezing mine till knuckles white. Results clean. False alarm. But it cracked him. Can't keep doing this to you, he said that night. Voice hollow. Deserve better. Stop, I pleaded. But he pulled the ring from his pocket. A simple band. Bought months back. Intended for a remission proposal. Not yet. Not till I'm whole. The rejection stung. Deeper than leaving. I stormed out. Walking miles in the muggy dusk. Rain starting as I reached the bridge. There, under sodium lamps. Phone buzzed Ellen. He called. Panicking. Says he pushed you away to protect you. Idiot. I turned back. Soaked. Finding him on the porch. Rain-matted hair. Eyes red. Don't, he choked as I approached. I lied. Again. Burying fear like those letters. We collapsed together. Rain sheeting. Embrace fierce. No more burying, I whispered. We dig together. That storm passed. But scars remained. Summer deepened our bond, therapy joint now. Unpacking his Navy traumas. My abandonment fears. We traveled light. Weekend in the Berkshires. Hiking trails where he'd proposed properly. Ring slipping on my finger under pine boughs. Forever, kid. If you'll have me. Yes. Breathless. Sealing with Salt Lake kisses. Fall's harvest brought normalcy. Shop booming with custom jobs. My book cover for a queer memoir hitting shelves. Dedicated to a who taught me home. Pride again. Louder. Us on the float tossing beads. Cheers drowning old whispers. Winter whispered warnings. Though. Anthony's energy flagged. Post-treatment toll. Doc said. Rest, I urged. But he pushed. Wrench in hand till dark. One January Eve. Snow squalling. He collapsed in the shop. Chest tight. Ambulance lights strobing our street like accusations. ER diagnosis. Stress-induced angina. Warning shot. Bed rest. Meds. My vigil by the beeping monitors. Scared me, I admitted, holding his hand, foredripped and frail. Me too, he rasped. Thought I'd leave you mid-story. Not happening, but as he recovered, conflict reignited. His insistence on solo shop runs, my hovering turning to arguments. Need to feel useful, he'd snap. You're useful alive, I'd counter. Doors slamming. The breaking point, March, anniversary of our first kiss. Candlelit dinner, my design award plaque gleaming, then fight erupting over his canceled therapy. Tired of shrinks picking my brain, tired of burying it, I yelled, storming to the guest room. First night apart under our roof. Dawn brought truce, coffee, apologies, raw talk. We're human, he said, pulling me close. Messy. But mine. Renewal came green as April buds. Tentative but stubborn. We recommitted, date nights enforced. Therapy tandem. Walks where hands swung free. Elmwood stairs now shrugs. Anthony's health stabilized. Silver lining the scares. Closer checkups. Diet tweaks I enforced with mock drills. His laughter booming over kale smoothies. Taste like lawn clippings. Kid. Tough love. I'd quip. Stealing a kiss that led to the counter. Reminding him vitality wasn't lost. Summer sizzled with milestones. My Manhattan exhibit, queer artist showcase. Anthony in a button-down. Beaming as critics praised my Hargrove series. Portraits of him wrench in hand. eyes alight. Proud, he whispered post-toast, hand on my back possessive. But undercurrents stirred. Jack's visits warmed, barbecues with his wife, tales of grandkids, but hints dropped. Settled yet? Rings official. Anthony bristled. Our engagement private. Rings worn daily but ceremony dodged. Not church folk, he'd mutter, but I sensed deeper. Fear of vows echoing his to Ellen. Binding then breaking. Fall's foliage mirrored turmoil. Ellen's wedding invite arrived, her to a Syracuse professor. Quiet affair. Anthony agonized. Should I go? Alone? With me? I insisted. Show her our life's no rebound. The ceremony was lakeside. Autumn sun gilding vows. Ellen radiant. Her groom kind-eyed. Us in the pews. Anthony's hand clammy in mine. Reception toasts lauded reinvention. And when she danced with Anthony, chaste waltz, laughter light, I fought jealousy, a serpent in my gut. Happy for her, he said later, driving home. Makes me want more. For us, hope flickered. We planned. Small ceremony. Riverbank. Just us and witnesses. Pete reconciled. Jack. Ellen. Invite sketched. Venue booked. But November's chill brought frost. Biopsy routine. But shadow on the scan, metastasis. Liver. Stage 4. Doc's voice clinical over coffee in Kingston. World tilted. Anthony joked first. Guess remission's overrated. But home. He shattered. Sobbing in my arms. Not fair. Just when. I held him. Stealing my spine. Fight. Like always. Chemo round 2. Aggressive. Poisons coursing veins. Hair thinning to stubble he shaved defiant. Quit remote. Full-time caregiver. Meals pureed. Baths gentle. Nights cradling his fevered form. Elmwood enveloped. Meal trains. Shop volunteers keeping lights on. Jack flew up weekly. Chessboard in tow. Ellen visited. Sharing hospital coffee. Her he's tougher than he knows a lifeline. Yet darkness deepened. Anthony's humor faded. Replaced by withdrawal days staring out windows. Whispering. Let me go easy. Mark. Don't want you nursing a corpse. Stop. I'd snap. Tears hot. We're not there. But resentment brewed. My exhaustion snapping over spilled pills. His barbs at my hovering. One blizzard night. Isolation peaked. Power out. Generator humming. Him spiking fever. Ambulance in snowdrifts. Dark chaos. Me alone in waiting room. Calling Jack. Come. Now. Dawn brought stability, antibiotics. Infection quelled. But fracture. This is killing you too, he said. Tubes snaking arms. Go to the city. Live. Betrayals blade twisted. Not his words, but the truth in them. I was fraying. Sketches abandoned. Friends distant. Mirror showing hollow cheeks. Back home. Packing a bag for space. He caught me. Running. Breathing. I choked. Before I break. He nodded. Defeated. Deserve that. Manhattan again. Sublet reclaimed. Nights in bars numbing ache. Texts from him. Fever down. Miss your sketches. I replied sparse. Guilt gnawing. Therapy solo now. Unpacking codependence. My therapist's love isn't martyrdom echoing. May bloomed without me his birthday. Uncelebrated it. Call came mid-exhibit. Voice weak. Come home? Please. I did. Taxi flying upstate. Finding him friendlier but fighting new trial drug. Experimental. For us, he said. Ring glinting on his finger. Summer healed slow, good days hikes. Bad ones Netflix marathons. My head on his lap. We rescheduled ceremony. Intimate. July 4th. Fireworks proxy for stars. Vows by the river. In sickness. In health already tested. Rings exchanged anew. Kiss sealing under bald eagle's shadow. But autumn's reaper loomed. Scans mixed. Tumor shrinking. But fatigue bone deep. Anthony planned pragmatically will revisions. Shop to Jack. House to me. Legacy, he called it. But eyes pleaded forgiveness for leaving. Conflict climaxed October. Argument over DNR. No heroics, he yelled. Me countering. Fight. Damn it. Doors slammed. Me storming to Ellen's. Crashing on her couch. Sobbing histories. She mediated next day. He's scared. Of hurting you more. Hospital reunion. Apologies. Hands clasped over monitors. No more running, we vowed. November brought the peak, the worst. Sepsis scare. ICU isolation. Me gowned and masked. His hand limp in mine. Love you, he rasped. Eyes fluttering. Love you, echoed. Prayer unspoken. Miracle, rallied. Discharged Thanksgiving. Home with turkey purees and gratitude circle. Family forged. Jack carving. Ellen piecing. Pete toasting to comebacks. Winter whispered endurance. Christmas tree lit. Ornaments heavier with meaning. Anthony stronger. Hair regrowing silver fuzz. Us cuddling by fire. Planning spring Bermuda. If docks cleared. But January's dawn shattered. Seizure at breakfast. Coffee spilling. 911 wail. R confirmed. Spread to brain. Aggressive. Hospice talk. Palliative care. Denial raged. Second opinions. Trials denied. Anthony faced it first. Time to say goodbyes. Heart splintered. We did letters to friends. Videos for future me. Find joy, kid. Sketch the world. Jack built a deck edition. For memories. Ellen organized care. Her hand on mine steady. February faded him. Bedbound. Morphine haze. My vigil constant. Stories read. Hands held. Songs hummed. Springsteen. Our anthem. One lucid eve. He pulled me close. Best chapter. You. Tears fell. Whole book. His betrayal? None. Just life's cruel plot twist, stealing our epilogue. March marched in mild. Crocuses defiant under melting snow. But Anthony's decline was inexorable, a river carving canyons. Hospice nurse. Gentle Maria from Kingston. Became fixture. Vitals checked. Meds adjusted. He's peaceful, a small mercy amid beeps and bottles. I slept fragmented on the couch, waking to his shallow breaths, sketching his face in repose. Lines softened, but jaw set stubborn, even in repose. Elmwood's embrace tightened. Neighbors shoveling our drive unasked. The beanery delivering soup in thermoses etched Hargrove strong. Jack stayed weeks. Bunking guest room. His presence a bridge. Stories of boyhood mischief. Anthony's faint chuckles oxygen to us all. Ellen rotated shifts. Her professor husband understanding. Sharing quiet coffees where we'd reminisce. Her first date with Anthony. Diner milkshakes. My first garage lesson. Oil under nails bonding us. Yet isolation clawed. Friends called, city contacts offering escapes, but I couldn't leave, tethered by love's fierce chain. Dreams turned nightmarish, him fading to mist, me grasping air. Therapy via Zoom, voice cracking. Am I enough? For this end. You're everything, counselor affirmed. Grief's not failure. Anthony's lucidity ebbed, windows narrowing. Good days. Porch sits, blankets tucked, river murmuring below. Remember first storm? He'd rasp, fingers tracing my wedding band. I'd nod, recounting rain-soaked embraces, laughter bubbling through tears. Bad days, confusion, calling me Tommy, eyes searching past. I'd play along gentle, right here, sailor, heart fractured, but presence my vow. High drama crested mid-April, false rally, color returning, him insisting on a drive, one last loop, wheelchair to truck, me pushing slow, Jack shotgun. We cruised Elmwood, market waving, shop lights aglow, Anthony narrating ghosts, fixed Widow Jenkins Buick there, 05. At the river overlook, sunset painting gold. He gripped my hand. Tell Jack. Love him. Always. Brother choked. No. And mutual. Collapse, exhaustion, not crisis. But Maria warned. Days. Maybe weeks. We gathered. Intimate vigil. Fire crackling. Photos circled. Stories flowed, Navy exploits. My clumsy proposal sketch, him in a tux. Wrench bouquet. Laughter mingled tears. Anthony's eyes twinkling faint. Night fell. I stayed bedside. His breathing labored symphony. Dawn crept. Birdsong piercing quiet. At 6:47 a.m., April 22nd, he slipped, hand slackening in mine, face serene, gone. Silence deafened. I sat frozen, tracing his knuckles one last, then kissed forehead cool. Unforgettable, whispered. Aftermath blurred. Calls, funeral home. Jack's arm steady as we chose casket. Simple oak. Navy honors. Ellen handled flowers, lilies, his favorite, Pete the hearse polish. Viewing packed. Elmwood full. Whispers now tributes. Brave man. Loved deep. Service riverside. Chaplain queer friendly. Anthony lived true. Late but fierce. Love's no straight line. Eulogies. Jack's gruff brother to end. Ellen's poised friend forever. Mine trembling. You taught me home's not place, but person. Carry your heart. Always. Burial under maples. Flags folded crisp. Reception at the shop. Beers cracked. Toasts raucous. Springsteen playlist thumping. Grief's waves crashed post. Empty house echoing. Bed vast. Shop quiet sans his hum. I wandered dazed. Sketches abandoned. Meals forgotten. Jack lingered. Cooking stews. Ellen weakly. Walks coaxing words. Betrayals echo. Not Anthony's, but my own survivor's guilt. Rage at universe's script. Why him? Screamed to empty porches. Therapy unpacked. Mourn the man, not the unfair. Spring deepened. I returned fragments. Shop consulting. Designs infused his memory. Memoir cover revised. Dedication for A. Wrench and wonder. Pride float dedicated him. Rainbow wrench banner. Cheers cathartic. Summer healed incremental. River swims. Fireflies winking conspirators. Dated casual, no rush. Ghosts gentle guides. Jack's visits evolved. Fishing trips. His heat-approved bomb. Fall's leaves fell forgiving. I scattered Anthony's ashes by our spot. Ring buried beside. Rest easy. Love. Winter's first snow. Anniversary eve. I stood porch lights strung blue-white. His visitor. Unexpected. A man mid-40s. Lean with Tommy's grin. Anthony's letters forwarded post-will. Curiosity drawn. Mark, he spoke of you. In the end, we talked hours, San Diego tales, regrets shared. No romance, but closure, he found peace. Thanks to you, New Year dawned resolute. Elmwood home still, but chapters open, design firm budding, trips planned solo then shared. Anthony's legacy, not loss, but launch, love teaching endurance, reinvention, unforgettable, eternal. In every sketch, every wrench turn, every river bend, he lives, bending me toward light. Humanity's grace. We love despite endings, grow through fractures. Anthony's story, ours whispers, be brave. Be true.